Recording in progress. Here we are for another Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth. Jason Bristol, Jeremy Booth. We did 2 extra bases in West Palm, and then we got back, and I don't know. I feel like the 2 that we did, that was going to be the one for last week. So here we are getting back on a weekly schedule. Does that math for you, Jeremy?
Yes, it does, Jason.
Okay, thank you. Lots to talk about. A lot of you commenting on our last video about Christian Walker. I think maybe we should start with that, about maybe do a couple of these before we get into some of the other topics at hand. A lot about Christian Walker last time, and you saying that he should be a option in left field, which Joe Espada shot that down. Here's the Matt Jacks says, Christian, we have your back. I fully believe you will hit 40 home runs this season. Cut the K rate, chase rate. Your bat speed is still in the 90th plus percentile. Take more walks. Walker, Yordan, Paredes, Cam, and Cole can hit 30 to 40 home runs each. Ooh, lost me there.
Who's Cole?
Zach Cole and Cam Smith.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go on.
Why hasn't Yordan hit 60 home runs yet? Because he's not on the field. Because he hits for the situation. Sometimes a single is better and easier to guide to the right spot with runners in scoring position than trying to hit a home run every swing. You weren't on Sports Extra this past week, but we had a situation about the Astros. Are they better off now than they were a year ago? And this kind of goes along with when you see the political ads say, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? So I wanted to twist that a little bit for a sports conversation. Do you believe that the Astros are better off today than they were a year ago?
They're only better off today if they were a year ago, if they learned from the mistakes. It's not so much, the pitching staff is not in a better place. It's just not. They'll create what they can with it, but offensively, personnel wise, they got most of the same guys back. So if not all of them, so it's hard to say yes or no on that situation, just on the offensive side. My answer to that would be the management, the front office, and the manager in particular, who he's got to learn. They have to learn a little bit. I'm gonna give you this. You've heard it say me. I've said it before. It was said to me in front of you, or at least you were in the ballpark with me at the same time it was said. I was comparing, Alvarez hitting second and Joe Espada to Dusty Baker and where Alvarez was hitting when he was here. And one guy said to me, "Well, 50 years in the manager seat in 2 years, or 1 year in the managerial seat, right?" So, it was an experience thing. But by year 3, Joe should have this figured out. He should kind of have an idea of what he wants to do or understand how this flows, and stop trying to fit something into a model that doesn't fit, perfectly. So when it comes to that, it's only if he's learned. If he's learned, then they're better.
I thought they were actually better off. I think they have more starting pitching options. Now, losing Fromber is huge. I'm not going to deny that. But I think they actually have more starting pitching options than they did a year ago. And when you add Carlos Correa, and if they're able to find a way to have Correa, Yordan, Altuve, Paredes, Christian Walker all in a lineup, I think that's a pretty deep lineup. And I actually think that that's better than they were a year ago if everybody remains healthy, they're hitting in the right spots in the lineup. I actually think the upside is a little bit higher for this team. So that's why I'm going to say I think they are better off than they were a year ago. Now, Josh Hader's situation, we'll see about that. I think the bullpen is not quite as good, but when you factor in the fact that everybody in the front office, in some ways, maybe playing, coaching, GMing for their jobs, I think they're in a better place than they were a year ago. I think the focus has to be extra, as Dana would say, locked in. And I just think that this lineup potentially could be better than it was a year ago.
Yeah, the lineup again, it's the same personnel with Correa here for the full time.
Got it. You got an older Cam Smith.
Yeah, again, same personnel, different year. The pitching, I'm still gonna stick with it's a committee situation across the board. I just don't think it's a outside of Hunter Brown and everybody's an uncertainty, including Javier, until I see more consistency out of him. So right now I've got one guy that I know I can post 30 times. And then after that, I'll figure it out. Correa is an interesting one. As an energy injection and culture injection to the clubhouse, it was good to see him in West Palm. Gave me a hug. It was nice to see him back and connect with Carlos and talk about.
Context. You scouted him, or at least were in the decision-making room during his draft when you were at Seattle, correct?
A little bit of both, Jason. A little bit of both. And
Well,
it
just for
was
those people who may not know,
well,
like, why is what? That's all. That's
yeah.
all.
I'm only saying that because it's that it's not so much about the hug, although I will admit now that you put it back to me that way, the depth of time that I've had with the majority of these guys, um, I think we hear a lot of people, a couple people talk about not anymore, of course, but before, not insider, not sure, okay, and so for to have Carlos have that culture. Um, of togetherness, I think is what they need. They got to be able to pull that together and bring that unit tighter when they get into those tough situations. If Joe can manage with his stars, he's going to begin the year offensively with his stars around, at least as of today. As of today, if he has all of that, if he can manage with that, then they got a chance to at least compete for the West. And once you get in the playoffs, it's whatever. But you have to. That's a Billy Bean thing, right? My stuff only works for the regular season. Once the postseason, it's luck. But they're not a runaway club by any stretch. They are a club that has some better components as long as they've learned how to use them, which goes back to Joe. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And Jason, I spent a lot of time this week um, with collegiate governing bodies and high school governing bodies and international. And a lot of things we talk about, including Major League Baseball, is biomechanical things and why bodies break down and production and long term and longevity, and then comparing some of these movements to other sports because it's so much deeper than just a guy's going to step on the field and you plug him into the two spot and he hits. It's way beyond that. So, I'm with the commenter on the Christian Walker. I think that's great. Um, I think they're in at least as good a position. We'll see how the manager uses them.
Another one, Roger something or other. I don't quite all. I can't quite understand. I know his pro baseball answers, but I trust this guy is saying the truth. Must be you. Walker Paredes, top three shakes in the league. Skywalker will be on display. Paredes will stay and hit 30 home runs. This will work.
You got to keep you don't trade offense when you have a pitching staff with questions. You just don't do it.
Someone wrote, if Altuve can be put in left field, anyone can do it.
My Bobby
Yes.
Bonilla argument.
Yep.
It's like,
Another person says Dana should be fired for the Walker signing. Walker needs to get a refund on the something. Oh, I think this person's suggesting performance enhancing drugs now that I read it.
stop it.
Stop it. But then someone says, yeah, how dare he lead the Astros in home runs and RBI last year? That's a good response. I was like, for real, dude had a rough first half, but showed great promise in the second half. Most players don't perform up to par first year after a big trade, or you could say big deal, whatever. So,
Can you feel the love in the room?
yeah, lots of comments here. Lots of
What
comments.
else we got? This is good.
Someone said, great. I think they need to leave Christian Walker alone. He showed what he could do last year, and the newness maybe rubbed off, so he'll do a great job this year. There are always critics everywhere. Yes, I think Christian Walker's in for a big year. I just think he is. I just think
You
he is.
have to fit these guys somewhere. And I know that Yordan's immediately upset. Oh, I want to play left field. So you know what? I wanted to run a 6'4" 60. Didn't happen for me either. He needs to understand that his body just breaks down with that much time in the outfield, and that's why it breaks down on the bases. The combination of playing left field and hitting second was brutal for him. You don't do that. This guy needs to hit it far enough and trot. That's what he needs to do. Hit far enough and trot and do that 4 times a game. And in between those 4 times you're doing it, you're back in the dugout or in the cage or on an exercise bike. That's your job, Jordan. That's your job. Okay? It's not to go shag fly balls out there in left field and throw a two hopper to third. It's not what we're trying to get you to do here.
Now, while I was in spring training or at spring training, The deal went down. Joey Loperfido coming back from the Blue Jays in exchange for Jesus Sanchez. The MLB.com reporter for the Blue Jays, Keegan Matheson, spoke to the hitting coach for the Blue Jays, Dave Popkins, about Sanchez. Sanchez was not good for the Astros. Let's
Not at
be
all.
real.
Not at all.
And his lack of productivity at the plate was certainly offset by his failures in the outfield defensively.
Yep.
Popkins says that some of the approaches Toronto's hitters are taking with them into the new year. Popkins said he being Sanchez, went over to Houston. They had some ideas for him to change some things, and I think they didn't quite resonate with his personality and who he is as a hitter. Now, a lot of people are just blowing this, I think, out of proportion. I don't think it's odd for a team to suggest some things, given that the guy was in an 0 for 3,000 slump at one point. So to me, it's like, well, I highly doubt that he walks into the clubhouse, because I was there at Fenway Park, and they say, hey, we want to do this with you on the first day or the second day or the third day. My guess is during some of his struggles, the Astros tried to tweak a thing, something else, maybe this, maybe that. You certainly have a lot more experience in that, given that you were a player. How do you think it went down? And is this being blown out of proportion? Because I think it's being blown out of proportion. And certainly a lot of people are saying, well, the Astros had their hitting issues, and that's why they blew out the staff and things like that. But when you hear this quote from Dave Popkins from the Blue Jays, what do you think happened?
So just so my thinking is clear, the issue at hand is that he's gone over to Toronto and been a much better player so far. Is that basically correct?
Has he? I don't know.
I'm asking because
I don't know.
then if we don't have a track record of performance once he's arrived over there, I don't understand what we're talking
He
about.
goes to the Astros and manages just 4 home runs in 48 games. His batting average on balls in play dropped to 245. His strikeout rate rose from 21% to 25, and his exit velocity dropped 92.1 to 89, which.
Yeah, I mean, I get all that. That's all indicative of
Yeah,
mechanical
we
issues,
haven't
right?
seen
Somehow.
anything. How could you even? We haven't seen anything. Now, yeah,
So,
certainly the Blue Jays, maybe they've seen something in the cages and things like that, but
what team was that again?
Toronto.
Um, as I was saying, I think that we are looking at a situation where a guy was unproductive in Houston and was traded for a player that the Astros had need for, options and all kinds of reasons.
And we're well
Um,
aware of, knew a
yeah,
lot about.
was making some money, and it was a bad fit for him in Houston for whatever reason, and he just gets traded. We're 2 weeks. When were we there? I left on we left on what, the 17th? Gone. We
I
left the
left on the
17th.
17th. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the 20. This is a week later.
Yeah,
All right.
9 days.
Okay, way too early to make any adjustments. We're still in spring training. There's no reason to talk about anything. I don't know why we're popping off. I think Sanchez gets out of there and goes over there, and they say, "How do we help you? This is what we saw." And they go, "Good. This is the time to tinker with it. It's spring training. Let's get right into it and see what we got." And then all the frustration that he has starts coming out because of what he felt in Houston versus what he's in Toronto. It's probably as simple as that. I will say that there's a lot of truth to it being a different staff offensively this year than it was last year. And you can't judge the two in Houston because this group hasn't had its time yet. It just got here. So you have staff A and staff, B, and staff B just arrived. It's apples and oranges. Can't do it yet. So I think it's just more of a frustration, more of taking a position about what
They
likely were the struggles because they just acquired this guy.
and what they could potentially do to fix him.
Yeah, but I mean, all these clubs think that. I mean, I've been, again, another conversation I have in something unrelated is this one club seems to think they're the answer to literally everything. And there isn't anybody in this game that's the answer to everything. I mean, not when it comes to how to move guys, evaluate guys, fix guys. There's more than one way to do it. And If Sanchez is going to have success up there, good, because it means that the Blue Jays will have a better product and the Astros got rid of something they needed. And the guy comes back here and Low Profito is great, but I don't know why we need to be digging into this 9 days later. It's 9 days. Give me 5 months. Come talk to me in August when he's got 26 home runs and or September 1 and he's got 87 RBIs and he's hit 287 or 84, whatever. Come show me that then. Then tell me what you did and what didn't happen in Houston. Right now, it's like talking to your ex-wife. You're talking about your ex-wife, like you just left. You think you just got a divorce. I mean, not to put it in those terms, but when you leave a team, you just got a divorce, and you're divorced from that team, and you're going somewhere else. It's emotional. It's mentally freeing or taxing all at the same time, and you're not going to be in a situation where anything that you're going to say is going to be good. Just go play.
Now, to be clear, this was not Jesus Sanchez talking.
Doesn't
This was
matter.
the
Came from
hitting
somewhere.
coach.
I get it. Came from
And
somewhere.
I would imagine, listen, I've been in exchanges like this where you're trying to write a story about somebody and quotes come up and maybe they look worse than how they sounded or when the person was talking. So, but some of the headlines like Blue Jays coach criticizes Astros tactics and wants to reinvigorate Sanchez's bat. Like,
Well, I hate to say that. I just don't think we're saying things need to be said. Just go play. New club. 9 days later. Let's be quiet about it. Hey, I saw these problems. We're going to address them. Sanchez is locked in. He wants to do these things. Great. It's February 25th. Go figure it out.
yeah. And it's possible that Sanchez relayed some of these concerns to the hitting coach. It is possible.
It's more than possible. It happened.
I will
There's
say that the Astros had nothing but good things to say. And granted, we heard from two of them. That was Jeremy Pena and I think Joe Espada also talking about what a positive vibe that Jesus Sanchez brought to the ballpark every single day. And unfortunately, now my words, it just didn't work out. Here's somebody that I'm sure you're somewhat familiar with. I don't know if you happen to see the rough day that Max Clark, one of the Tigers' top prospects, one of the top prospects in baseball, botched two plays in the outfield, missing an easy pop up in the sun, missing a long fly ball. This was against the Braves. Went over for a ground rule double and then slipped. And then when it was his turn at bat, he fell on a check swing, prompting more commentary from the Atlanta Braves broadcast crew. Before it was, geez, that's not his day out there. And then someone said he can't get back to Lakeland fast enough. The one thing I noticed, he has quite the assortment of chains. Max Clark does.
Hold on. You can't get back to Lakeland fast enough.
You can't get. I think it was Nitkowski who said that.
That's pretty good. Um,
And listen, I'm all for guys being who they are. Sometimes a lot of the players I've seen come up, they try to keep a lower profile, but you know,
how you want me to address this one? Just
up to
straight
you,
up?
man. It's your
Yeah.
show.
All right. Listen, I've never been, similar to Jared Kelenic back in the day, who I thought had a lot of ability. Um, I've never been on the train. To me, there's always been something off with Max Clark. And it's just my opinion. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I don't know him. I'm not saying he is untalented. Clearly not. There's something missing for me. There's something off. Now, here's what I say about Max. Max is very, very vocal on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Tends to kind of get off on that, in my opinion. I don't know why he has to talk, why people have to do it like that. That's his thing. He's very confrontational in some situations, and as a player who's trying to get to the big leagues, he has to remember and be a good big leaguer, by the way, that he's not a big leaguer yet. And I don't know that he does a good job of that. I think he acts as if today, maybe it's immaturity, maybe it's upbringing, maybe it's off field. I don't know. Don't know. But the presentation is one of, I am the best person ever to swing a bat and wear a glove in the history of all time. I'm clearly exaggerating when I talk about that. I don't know that he thinks that. That's the presentation. And so when guys have 4 or 5 chains on, um, and in fairness to Max, being from where he's from, which I believe is Indiana.
It is.
It's a very big hotbed of another event, amateur event company. And Max was like signed to some NIL contract like years prior, or at least agreed to do something and kind of locked into doing just this event stuff for the most part. These two, anyway. Um, and I just kind of thought that was odd. Now, he'll probably come out and say that's not true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What I do know is that I think when you do those things at an early age, there's a tendency to skew your perception of reality. And when you swing that way, talk that way, wear chains like that, you have a tendency to fall pretty hard, even if you're athletic, better, more athletic than other people. So it's one day, it's not a good one. Here's a good example for Max Clark if you're paying attention. This is a guy that I do know very well, who I love as a human being, and that's Zach Veen. Okay? And Zach Veen had a lot of similar things when he got to a certain level. It was about the show, it was about all these hand movements, it was about everything that he was doing as if he had been there forever. And I love this kid. I love his family. He's great. I love where he came from. I cannot say enough positive things about Zach Veen. Zach went ahead and corrected some things as far as behavior and came back a man. Okay. Now I don't know if he's going to still hit 35 or 40 home runs in the big leagues. I think he does. But he came back a absolute man, 45 pounds bigger, traps out the wazoo, just completely sculpted up after 5, 6 months of knocking this stuff out, where he got back to his craft and got mentally right. He cares less about the show and more about the game now, because that's what drove him to do it in the first place. I say all of that to just kind of go back to this. When you have days like that, where it should just be a footnote, because it's a day in baseball, not a good day. The reason why we're even talking about it is because of the presentation. It's because of the flash. It's because of the 17 chains. It's because of the face tattoos or anything else that he's got. And I'm tatted up too. I know. I get it. I love the ink. I understand it. I'm not going to bang on him for that. But the presentation of how you go about it makes people love you or hate you. You better be ready to do both, because I can tell you something. There's a lot of people that don't like me, and I'm here for it. I'm all here. Let's go. I'm here for it. And there's people that do like me, and there's people that don't care. But when you're him, and you're 21, 22, whatever he is now, and you're, in the minors, and you're not knocking on the door of the big leagues or establishing the big leagues, you present yourself like that, you're setting yourself up for everybody to root against you. And I think that's what you got. So it doesn't surprise me he had a deal like that. I think something's missing. For me, I hope he course corrects it for him. But for me, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I'm just has not been a fan of Max as a whole of the presentation. Whatever he does is what he does.
Let's talk about the positives, though, from the statistical angles. He has reached double A last season
Yeah.
at the age of 20. So on average,
He's
he's about
21.
3 to 4 years younger
Used to
than,
be.
huh?
Right now, he's 3 to 4 years younger.
That's what Baseball Reference, I'm looking at it, age
Yeah,
difference for the year.
yeah, that makes sense. They took out a level of minor leagues. That makes sense.
So between Western Michigan or West Michigan and Erie last season, he had 94 walks and 90 strikeouts, an OPS of 835, 14 homers, 67 runs driven in, 19 steals, caught just twice, batted 271. So I think that given his age and where he's at, and when you look at some of the plate discipline, like I think that really, if I'm playing the futures market, I think I would push some money in on Max Clark simply because of his plate discipline. And because, listen, plate discipline, very rarely do prospects who don't have it gain it. But guys who have it, the numbers may skew a little bit more towards strikeouts when they get to the big league level. But at this point, I think that I'd be pretty bullish on his overall potential as a big leaguer based on his numbers and how old he is against the competition.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna counteract that by saying I'm not talking about his overall ability. To me, the issue with Max Clark isn't ability. He's still athletically better in many cases than the guy he's playing against right now. He's better than them physically. He's better than them approach wise. He's better than them when it comes to what the upside can be. But another example, who I would point to, who's a couple years younger, is Connor Griffin. And I had Connor Griffin here, and I was not, and I'll say this on TV, I was not a fan of how his dad promoted him. I was not a fan of how his dad poured things into Connor. I wasn't. Okay, I didn't like Connor's support system of pumping him up as being the next best thing because even though he was going to end up becoming athletically something that was off the charts. And by the way, my comp on him is Jeff Francoeur, just so everybody's clear. Um, I didn't like the way it was being handled. It was being handled like, the game needs my kid. That's how his dad did it. The game needs my kid, and that the travel team he played for, I have a lot of respect for. They kind of fed into that some, um, but I have a lot of respect for those guys as a whole. It was just a very unique situation. But Connor, when he went out, I saw him last year in the Futures game. And Connor, when he went out and took control of his career and got away from all that, changed his approach offensively, added size and strength, changed his mentality as far as how he went about it. It was a different kid. And I haven't seen any of that out of Max yet. The attitude adjustment's going to happen at some point. You want another proof? Here's another one. Alex Theodore Bregman. Okay. Now, I don't know if his middle name's Theodore. I think I just pulled that one out. But I would just tell you, Alex was not somebody that was really well liked as far as how he's perceived when he first got here. And I don't know that's ever really going to leave him, but I know he's somebody that you respect, and he's somebody who's been a much better teammate as time has gone on. People will never forget that first impression. But I think he's been pretty good in the clubhouse recently over the last 5 to 7 years.
It's one of his best attributes
right
now.
Right, but it wasn't then. He had to have the attitude adjustment, right? And Alex is different because I've watched him from the time he was in high school at 14 years old, all the way to LSU, and then all the way into the every big stop he's made since then, whether it's been USA Baseball and the collegiate national team or whatever. And I've watched this kid in every major environment. Played against Cuba. He played against when Cuba had dudes like they had Gurriel on the other team, right? When he played against in the College World Series for LSU in Omaha. He was playing short there. But he had to have his moment too. His moment came. You know who else's moment came? Carlos Correa. Everybody has a moment when he shows up and go, I can't behave that way. And Max is the most extreme out of any of those guys I mentioned. All those guys did a little bit, except Correa, honestly, a little bit of I'm better than what I'm better. I'm a little bit above the game. And they all lost it. They all got rid of it. So Max is going to have to lose that because saying you don't think that way and then continue to act the way he does, which is again why we're talking about a kid in spring training having 3 errors.
I don't know if they were officially errors. I don't know what he was credited. I haven't seen the box.
Either way, having all that stuff happen, we're not talking about this from an outfielder for the Detroit Tigers who's 21 years old, unless it's somebody that has all that bling on in the first place. So that's just my opinion.
Alex David Bregman.
Yeah, I like Theodore better, Alex. I'm sorry.
ADB.
Yeah, I like Theodore.
What is up next on your calendar before we sign off?
I'm going to go back to Charlotte, North Carolina for a couple meetings. I'm going to Mexico for another couple meetings. All big stuff for the Future Star Series land. And then I will be back in Houston, Texas for is there something going on here?
World Baseball Classic.
Oh, that. Yeah, I'll be back for that. So, it's a very interesting time over here. It's a very good time. It's building, it's growing, it's accelerating. So, busy year. Team's going to the Dominican Republic for an event, Boston for an event after that. I won't be at either one of those things, but away we go.
I sent you a picture, by the way, of So for all of you out there who religiously watch us, let us know what kind of content are you looking for? Would you like us to see, or would like to see from us, I should say, when it comes to the World Baseball Classic? Would you like Jeremy to potentially break down some of the rosters, guys that maybe he's seen many years ago that are playing for other countries? I'd have to go back and look at some of the scouting reports, but give us some ideas. I'm open to whatever. I think Jeremy, for the most part, is open to whatever, since he knows that I'll do most of the legwork. But I think that whatever you guys are possibly interested in, we can provide that and that and much more. So those are the things of what we've got. So,
all right.
Anything else?
I'm good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Extra Bases. For Jeremy, I'm Jason. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, and we will talk to you next time.